Welcome all, www Weaving Word Wellbeing welcomes Dr. Indira Anand. She is our concluding speaker for the event celebrating Makar Sankranti, and she will be talking about insight into suffering, a very thoughtful topic. Welcome Indira ji on the platform of www.
Namaskar and a very warm welcome to everyone. I'm truly grateful to Weaving World's Welcome, an amazing initiative for giving me the opportunity to share my thoughts on various aspects of suffering.
So let me introduce Dr. Indira Anand. Dr. Indira Anand retired as a director Merrill Lynch. She is currently the chair of British Association of Ayurvedic Practitioners, vice president of British Ayurvedic Medical Council, chairperson of SMS UK, and founder of SMS India Foundation. She trained as a yoga teacher from Bihar School of Yoga and she is conducting yoga and Ayurvedic retreats and workshops for nearly 20 years. She has several books and professional paper to her credit. So Indira ji, my first question to you, and as it relates to well-being for all of us, is that when we look around, we find there is suffering everywhere. As we all know, suffering is part of human evolution. Perhaps the goal of entire global population is to avoid suffering and find happiness. But Indira ji, is it really possible to be happy in the face of our daily trials and tribulations?
It's true. We all suffer hardship, grief, sorrow, the various synonyms of suffering. It's a part of life and it's inevitable. But this type of suffering, which is a part of life, depends on how we deal with it. So it's our choice how to deal with it. And we want to, in this short session, we are going to try and see how you can live happily in the face of life's inevitable sorrows, so that we'll try to understand that's what we are going to try and understand in this short session. The suffering from natural disasters, we cannot control, but the suffering from our daily disasters, we can. Sadly, many of the things
इंदिरा जी म्यूट हो गए. इंदिरा जी म्यूट हो गए. इंदिरा जी म्यूट हो.
Who did it? Okay, where did we stop? Where did we?
You said it was in the natural disaster we can't control, but the normal suffering we are going through, we can control.
Okay, so sadly, many of the things that undermine our happiness, we create ourselves. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. We can control it.
Very beautifully portrayed, Indira ji, that pain is unavoidable, but suffering is our choice. I think there lies the clue of our today's workshop or seminar, that yes, pain is not in your hand, but suffering is in your hand. So my next question straight to you is how to control it.
Often our suffering comes from the negative tendencies of the mind, emotional reactivity, and not realizing, not utilizing the resources that exist within us. That's something very important. We need to do that. So it's logical that if we are the creators, we can also control it. And if we can control, and then we can create happiness. In fact, the two things are interrelated. It's difficult to put them in separate boxes. The two questions: how to control suffering or manage suffering, and how to increase our happiness. If we can manage our suffering, then it automatically increases our happiness. But let me try to deal with how to manage the suffering first. When we look around, we find so many people suffering. That in itself reduces our pain. But this also gives birth to empathy and compassion. The compassionate concerns for other people's suffering is the source of reducing our self-absorption. Too much self-centered thinking is the primary cause of suffering. The more we are able to wipe the tears from another's eye, the more we are able to transcend our own suffering. This is the real secret. So you see that, we have to shift the focus away from us.
बहुत ही खूबसूरत इंदिरा जी, because most of the time जब पहले तो हम लोगों की दूसरों के point of view से समझते ही नहीं हैं, और जब हम दूसरों को रीच करते हैं तो हमें लगता है कि हम दूसरों की हेल्प कर रहे हैं. बट आपने आज बहुत खूबसूरती से बताया कि जब हम दूसरों की तरफ भी जा रहे हैं, in a way we are helping ourselves only. We are supporting us only. Very beautiful. Indira ji, now third question is that these are the things we talk about, we can manage. But what about a death or a loss of a loved one? Because please,
there's a background noise.
Because how to control a death, suffering of a death of a loved one, because it can be a very soul-stirring experience for any human being, and it will knock you again and again. So how to cope with it? No doubt it's not easy, but
the suffering that comes from the loss of a loved one, how to deal with it, that's your question.
Yeah.
Now, this again, it comes if you shift the focus on the person rather than on yourself. Okay. That provides a motivation to generate a deeper sense of purpose in your life. You feel more responsibility to fulfill their dreams and ambitions. In the UK, there are, in the national news, there are cases we hear cases every day when the parents of children, those who have lost their children, they get together and try to do something really heroic to commemorate their lives. So, but if you keep thinking about, yourself, it just takes you down to despair and depression. So you have to try and make your life more meaningful, to try to do something creative for the person who you have lost. Now, our mind causes a lot of suffering. Because we are always thinking me, me, me. The more time you spend thinking about yourself, the more suffering you will experience. As I said before, the key is to shift the focus away from you. Suffering can actually make us better human beings.
Great, Indira ji. Abhi tak we were thinking that through having good clothes, having good appearance, having good manners makes us a better human being. But we are talking about suffering also making us a better human being. I hope you would like to throw a light on that. So how suffering makes us a better human being or a better version of ourselves?
Okay, first of all, when we experience suffering, our arrogance falls away.
Wow. Wow.
Isn't that right?
Very right. Hard to pick.
Suffering also gives us consideration for others who are suffering. Then the other thing is that we don't like to do things. We avoid actions which will cause suffering to others. Having experienced suffering yourself, you don't want to cause suffering to others. So that gives rise to compassion and empathy. Again, very important qualities for contentment. It also gives us tolerance and acceptance, because you realize that, you are not alone. So our adversaries who give us pain, they actually become our benefactors. You wonder how? Because they help us to look towards spirituality. Because we find this is the only way to get over, to avoid it. People with life-threatening illnesses, as you said, that these are the verities, the losing a loved one is something which is not so easy to manage unless you are able to. And also illness is the same thing. But, people who have experienced life-threatening illnesses, they start to make the most of their time at their disposal. They know they're going to go away, but we all know the mortality is a part of us as well. So all of us should make better use of our time. Whatever time we have, we should make better use of it. Sadness, in many ways, is the emotion which brings us close together. It creates support and solidarity. We look to one another and brings us together.
इंदिरा जी आप म्यूट हो गए फिर से. इंदिरा जी म्यूट हो गए.
Why is it happening?
ना जो नए लोग आ रहे हैं उनको म्यूट कर दिया प्लीज.
हाँ बेटा, लेकिन इसको फिर गड़बड़ हो जाती है ना, the flow goes away. So when did I go mute again?
We are there to listen. We were talking about how suffering makes us a better human being.
No, I know, but the last sentence when I went mute. Anyway, I'll just say again, because it's very important. Actually, it's the pain and suffering that actually allows us to appreciate joy and happiness. Experiencing suffering can also help us to develop the tools for increasing happiness.
Hello.
Yeah, I know you're going to ask me this question.
Yeah, sure. See, Indira ji, it's interesting because you are talking about the tools, because of all the talks we listen, and I was looking for these kind of answers. We know that this is a process, we have to go through it. But first time we are talking about the tools. It's like a recipe book. So surely we like to know the tools and how we can increase the happiness. As you said, that suffering and happiness both are the same, two sides of the same coin. So how to increase happiness?
Okay, based on my research and experience, I may say that 4 qualities of the mind and 4 qualities of the heart provide us with the infrastructure of happiness. The 4 qualities of the mind are perspective. As I already mentioned, you need to change your perspective, humility, humor, and acceptance. So I've referred to a couple already. The 4 qualities of the heart are forgiveness, gratitude, compassion, and generosity. But in a way, they're all linked together. One follows from the other. You start with changing your mental perspective, you get to the next one, and you get to the next one. Okay, but to start with, our ability to reframe our position more positively and to see it in a wider perspective is the most important tool. Essentially, we need to shift the perspective away from I, me, and mine to we, us, and ours. The wider perspective leads to serenity and equanimity. So we confront a problem with creativity and compassion rather than with rigidity and reactivity. Humility and acceptance come automatically when you change your perspective. When we have a wider perspective, we have a natural understanding of our place in the greater scheme of things, and that spontaneously brings humility. And also acceptance that as human beings, we can't control everything. We cannot control all aspects of our life. When we accept, when we have humility, we are able to laugh at our own vulnerabilities. That is that which introduces humor in our life. Humor, humanity, and humility, they all come from the Latin word humus, which means earth. They all bring us down to earth and make us recognize our need for one another. The recognition that we are not created for independence or self-sufficiency, but for interdependence and mutual support is wisdom. We are all born and we all die the same way, totally dependent on others, whether you are a prince or a beggar. So we now come to the fourth and final quality of mind, which is the ability to accept our life with all its pain and imperfection, but also its beauty as it is. Acceptance means not fighting reality. Acceptance of reality is the only place from where we can start to make a change. Stress and anxiety come from our expectation of how life should be. When we are able to accept that life is as it is, or how it is because of our own karmas, and not think how it should be, then we are able to escape the bumpy ride of dukkha and distress and suffering. So many of the causes of suffering come from our reacting to people, circumstances, things, places in our lives rather than accepting them. When we react, we stay locked in judgment and criticism, leading to anxiety and despair, making it impossible for us to be happy. Acceptance allows us to relax, to see things clearly, and to respond appropriately. So so this is something which is very important in terms of the four qualities of the mind. Okay, so you're opening your mouth to ask the next question. Carry on.
Because I think these are in line with Swami Niranjan also, has he said that life is all about managing your hand, heart, and head. So coming to same flow, what about heart? This is about the mind, and but we are heart, we are people at heart. So what are the qualities of the heart we should nurture, or at least try to nurture in this life?
So it brings us to the first quality of that. When we accept the present, we can forgive and release the desire for the past. So it brings forgiveness. Forgiveness is the first quality of the heart. Forgiveness is the only way to heal ourselves and to be free from the past. When we forgive, we take control of our own fate and feelings. Until we can forgive, that person will hold the key to our happiness. When forgiveness actually is a sign of strength, not of weakness. Then that brings us to the second quality of the heart, which is gratitude. All spiritual traditions recognize the importance of gratitude. It allows us to shift our perspective towards all that we have, rather than what we are missing. In other words, seeing the cup half full, counting our blessings. When we have a sense of gratitude for our gifts, we avoid it. That gratitude brings humility rather than the undesirable trait of arrogance. Gratitude increases our ability to be kind and generous towards others and increases compassion and generosity. So compassion and generosity is the third and the fourth quality of the heart. They are again closely interrelated. The word compassion literally means suffering with. This concern for others is very precious. Compassion is what connects the feeling of empathy to the acts of generosity and kindness. Buddha supposedly said, if you have compassion, you have all other virtues. The fact that we admire compassionate people shows that compassion is something we like to have. When we think of alleviating others' suffering, it automatically reduces our own suffering. So this is the secret again. But we also need self-compassion. We need to accept our own vulnerabilities and not be too harsh with ourselves. So you cannot have compassion for others if you don't have compassion for yourself. So often a natural outgrowth of compassion is generosity. It is even associated with better health and life expectancy, longer life expectancy. Generosity is not just about giving money. It's also how we give our time, how we give our time to offer solace to others, and also how we share our wisdom to help someone on their journey. Generosity of spirit is the truest expression of spiritual development. Compassion and generosity are not just lofty virtues. They are at the center of humanity, what makes lives meaningful. Modern life, with its ruthless competitiveness, distorts our innate sense of compassion and generosity. Competitiveness breeds negative emotions like greed, fear, and jealousy, causing stress and anxiety. So we have forgotten the dictum, Vasudeva Kutumbakam. We have become too self-centered. Everything that we have talked about ultimately rests on changing our mental perspective. As mentioned earlier, most of our suffering comes from the negative tendencies of the mind and from emotional reactivity. So we need to have mastery over our mind and develop develop mental immunity, mental or spiritual or psychological immunity.
Okay. Very special word from your side. We were all talking about physical immunity. Now Indiraji is also talking about mental immunity, and I think we all who are here, we are looking for this. So how to develop mental immunity?
So we all know the importance of physical immunity, the body's ability to defend against harmful substances and protect itself from disease. Mental or psychological immunity is the ability of your mind to protect itself from negative mental tendencies like fear, anxiety, depression, or emotional toxins like anger, jealousy, etc. And some of the elements of mental immunity are emotional resilience, the ability to bounce back from difficult situations; emotional honesty, the ability to feel the emotion that actually arise without fear and without denial; detachment, which places a distance between your sense of self and the turmoil around you. So the stronger your sense of your inner self, the more immunity you will have in any situation which the mind engages. So there is no better way to achieve mental immunity than through meditation. Now we come back to where we started the whole series. The scope of meditation is quite vast. Okay, so we can choose what suits us. And, all techniques are helpful. The more we practice, the more we benefit. And reward deepens through continued effort. Even if you just start with a mental resolve to, on a daily basis, that today I'll be less judgmental, today I'll be less reactive, it plays an important role in changing your mental perspective. But you have to do it after quietening your mind. That's very important, because that means that resolve or that intention gets embedded in your subconscious. The subconscious helps you. The subconscious always helps you achieve what you ask it to do. Okay? Even if you simply focusing on your breath for a few minutes every day, or a nature walk with breath awareness are also meditative experiences. Then there is also the analytical meditation. What is analytical meditation? When you try to get to the root cause of your feelings, negative feelings or your emotions or whatever thing that you're trying to react to. So just start, whatever suits you, wherever you want to start, but do make a start, because meditation, and this is again very important, is a profound way to increase the pause between the stimulus and your response. Normally what happens, you blurt out. When somebody says something, but that pause enables you to reflect and then respond appropriately rather than out of emotion. Okay, react out of emotion. So when you cultivate a meditative mind, there is always present a sense of peace, contentment inside. And in such a state, you're continually aware, you're centered. When you are centered, even while confronting, the pressures which come from either within or outside, you are not going to respond in a way which you'll regret later. And importantly, you're less susceptible to emotional toxicity in any form, whether it's coming from other people or from your own bad memories or past wounds. So please remember, it's not possible to change your mental perspective without gaining control over your mind. This is my whole life's experience. Bhavna said, tell them that it's your 80 years experience. I said, I didn't start learning in the year one. So no talks, no reading of scriptures, no parrot fashion mantra jap will do it. You have to try to gain access to your inner self. Okay. So when you're able to have such mental immunity through developing a meditative mind, you'll be able to set in motion the virtuous circle of the 4 qualities of the heart, mind, and the 4 qualities of the heart. So compassion and generosity, these are the things which are going, these 8 qualities will lead to a happier life. So I repeat, the ultimate source of a happy life resides within, which can only be accessed through meditation. Now, I was just thinking, Ritu, if you allow, I'm just, I wanted, because as this is, I know that, you will be giving the concluding remarks, but as this is the last session of the series, let me provide a gist of the highlights of various sessions that we've had so far. Is that okay?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Okay. Now, Ritu, I'll start with you.
Okay.
Ritu emphasized on the basis of karma theory, the importance of understanding that you are the creator of your present circumstances. So give up the blame game and accept your responsibility and work towards improving your future. But do we give up the blame game?
Not so easily.
Rashmi highlighted the importance of accepting your feelings in order to deal with stress and anxiety. That is, having emotional honesty. Do we have emotional honesty?
I'm writing these points.
Adesh's main message, by pointing out the strengths and weaknesses of all numbers, was use your strength to work on your weaknesses. Again, the starting point for change is accepting your weaknesses. Do we accept? You know what happens? When the predictions are given, we enjoy the strengths, the better qualities, and then you say, oh, this probably is because I've taken the wrong date or something like that. Bhavna highlighted the importance of gaining control of your pranic energy to reach deeper states of dhyan, to experience peace and bliss in the midst of this sorrowful world. So that's at a much higher level. And Yogi Vishwanath explained how therapeutic yoga can help you to expand and manage your pranic energy. My main message to you on the basis of my lifelong experience is that none of this is attainable without the help or without developing mental immunity and becoming the master of your mind. And there is no better way to achieve this than through meditation. So take the plunge and make a start if you want to live a happier life, because the ultimate source, once again, I want to emphasize, the ultimate source of happy life resides within, not outside. Thank you all. Thank you for your attention.
Can I have a question?
Thank you, Indraji.
I have a question, Indraji.
Okay, Ritu,
Are we going to have a question time? If I'll wait.
Yes,
Ji, ji,
we
please
are going to
पूछिए.
have a question. Yes. Let her ask a question, then we please पूछिए. Premji wants to ask a question. Please go ahead.
I want to ask the question that how do you do the balance between accepting your shortcomings and not to be harsh to yourself, compassionate to yourself?
you see, nobody is perfect. You have to accept that. Nobody is perfect. We all have shortcomings. And when you say, don't be harsh with yourself, if you have a weakness and you're harsh with yourself, you're putting yourself down. It actually demolishes your self-esteem. You have to start thinking again, change your mental perspective. As Adesh said, think of your strengths, which can help, and then start making, an intention, a resolve to start working on your weaknesses. But saying, when you say accepting weakness doesn't mean that you don't want to bring about the change. Accepting weaknesses means you realize that I am not perfect. I've got this problem, but I've also got a lot of strengths. So I can try and do something about it. And we have worked all our life, we are not always able to, but making a start, the acceptance is important for wanting to make the change.
Thank you very much, Didi. Yes. What did I do?
Don't worry, I'll mute you.
मेरा question भी है.
Relax.
मेरा इंदिरा जी से क्वेश्चन है, पूछ सकती हूँ?
पूछिए जी, पूछिए.
इंदिरा जी, थैंक यू फॉर एवरीथिंग फर्स्टली. और दूसरा कि आप हमें अपना 80 इयर्स का एक्सपीरियंस दिया कुछ शब्दों में कि मेडिटेशन को एक्सेप्ट कीजिए और मेंटल इम्यूनिटी बनाइए, लेकिन आप अपने जीवन की रोजमर्रा की जिंदगी में जो डिसिप्लिन लिया हुआ है उसमें कुछ हम जैसे लोगों को कुछ 4-5 टिप्स देंगे जो कि हम भी फॉलो करें इन अ डेली लाइफ, जिससे हमारी मेंटल इम्यूनिटी आए.
See, discipline becomes a part of your personality and you make a path. And my journey started in school. We had Adesh's sister was my best friend. We had a group of 4. We used to set our targets and write, and then at the end of each week, see whether we met those targets or not. And, it is a gradual process. You start working on it. And, and you realize that everything happens in a very smooth way if you continue to have that discipline. You make time for everything. You make time for so many things if you're disciplined. So tip ये है कि आपको उसके ऊपर काम करना है और करते रहना है.
मतलब टारगेट सेट करने हैं हमें एवरी वीक अपने.
I think that's a very good idea.
Okay.
Set yourself a target, set one target first and see at the end of each day whether you were able to meet that target or not.
तो मैं इंदिरा जी की टिप पे एक बात कहना चाहूंगी. इतने साल इंदिरा जी के साथ रहने पे भी मैं ये काम ना कर पाई, लेकिन आज 19 जनवरी है, 19 दिनों से मैं यही काम कर रही हूँ पहली बार अपनी लाइफ में कि मैंने एक डायरी बनाई 2022 की, और इंदिरा जी मुझे कहते थे मैंने अब से शुरू किया है, सिर्फ इस साल से शुरू किया है कि उस पे डेली थॉट लिखा और फिर अपने आप को मार्क्स दिए कि उस थॉट को मैं कितना पूरे दिन में जी पाई, रात को क्या वो थॉट मैं जी पाई कि नहीं जी पाई।
Excellent.
तो ये इंदिरा जी की वजह से मैंने स्टार्ट किया। तो जो लोग अपने जीवन में कुछ बदलाव लाना चाहते हैं तो ये टिप ले सकते हैं।
Indra ji, we have a question from Savita also. On the same as Bhavna has shared her experience, Savita has asked you a question. Savita, you can ask your question. Unmute.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Thank you so much, Indira ji. My question is, why is self-compassion so difficult?
Why self-compassion is so difficult? Because, you know, we are at the center of our world, okay? And we want, and we have, whether we accept it or not, we have an ego. We want to be the most important person. And therefore, you become very harsh with yourself. You know, because you want to portray yourself as somebody, you know, it's the, as I said, to be able to laugh at your vulnerabilities is a very important, very, very useful way to say that I'm not perfect. Therefore, it doesn't matter that I have this problem. That is changing the mental perspective, isn't it? You know, because you have to manage your ego and your arrogance. The ego and the arrogance actually doesn't allow you to be compassionate with yourself.
Okay. Okay. So how can we develop, this is the next question. How do I develop self-compassion?
But as I said before, just see that anybody that you have around you, there's a background noise. Look at all the people around you. Are they all perfect? No. Nobody is perfect. Even
Yes,
after trying the whole life. Okay, we are trying. You look at this, you know, this big saints and gurus. Have they overcome anger?
No.
Have they overcome arrogance?
No.
No. So this
No.
is, you know, if you understand that it's a part of life, that somebody is not muted themselves.
Yeah,
प्लीज
Neena,
म्यूट कर लीजिए अपने
Neena.
आप को।
Neena ko bole, please.
Okay.
she is mute now. Yes.
All right. Okay. So I think that's how you become self-compassionate. Yes, I am. And you know, if you can't be compassionate with yourself, it's very difficult for you to be compassionate with others.
I thought that you said that if you are, you don't have to be harsh with yourself because you are undermining yourself, and that's why you're not compassionate to yourself. Now we are thinking that it is the ego which does not let you become self-compassionate. Am I wrong in thinking like that?
No, I think
Which is that? Is it undermining or ego?
दोनों चीजें हैं.
Oh, I see. Okay.
दोनों चीजें. It will vary with the person. It doesn't, the same thing doesn't apply to everybody. It depends on how you project yourself. You want to project yourself as a leader, you are going to, then your ego, your arrogance will not allow you to accept your vulnerabilities. Okay? But if you are, you know, on the spiritual path and you actually want to be and feel that you are a deserving candidate for God's love, you are there, you know, then you will have a different perspective. You will try to work on it in a different manner.
I second, मेरे को ये बहुत बड़ी प्रॉब्लम है ईगो वाली और लीडरशिप वाली. So मौसी, I can say that ये गड़बड़ होती है बहुत ज्यादा.
I can't somehow switch on my video, but I don't know what's the wrong. I have, yeah.
आपकी शक्ल तो दिखी है. Your video is on now.
Is it?
Yes.
मेरे को नहीं अपनी दिख रही.
I can tell you what you're wearing.
Oh, I see. Okay. Okay. So two others can see me, but I can't see myself. Okay, that's fine. That's all right.
Okay. I think Ritu, over to you now, isn't it?
Any more questions from anyone? They are most welcome.
Subhash has raised his hand.
Yeah, sure. Subhash ji, please unmute yourself and ask the question.
मुझे एक शेर याद आ रहा है. मैं क्या कुछ सुना देता हूँ. It's relevant to what we are talking. वो कह रहा है कि जो खो गया उसका तो कुछ गम नहीं, जो खो गया उसका तो कुछ गम नहीं, जो मिल गया वो भी तो कुछ कम नहीं.
बहुत बढ़िया सुभाष जी. That is शुक्राना, जिसको इंदिरा जी ग्रेटिट्यूड बोल रही है, शुक्राना वही है.
Thank you.
Thanks. So I think no more questions. Somebody has raised your hand. No. So again, I will also like.
रितु, उन्होंने प्रमिला जी ने, रितु किसी ने रेज किया अपना हैंड. आई थिंक सो. कोई पूछना चाहता है.
Okay.
I think प्रमिला दीदी जी शायद पूछना चाहते हैं कुछ. I think so. इंदिरा जी.
I can't see her.
प्रमिला गुगलानी जी बोल रहे हैं लेकिन वो म्यूट हैं.
हाँ, आपने को unmute. हाँ, now she's unmute.
हाँ जी, मैं ये प्रश्न पूछना चाहती हूँ कि बरसों से मुझे आदत पड़ी हुई है बहुत सारे चालीसा पढ़ने की, सुखमनी साहब पढ़ने की और गीता का एक अध्याय पढ़ने की. ये मेरी ऐसी डीप रूटेड आदत पड़ गई है कि मैं मेडिटेशन नहीं कर पाती. मैं इसको ज्यादा अहमियत दे रही हूँ और मैं अंदर से जानती हूँ कि मेडिटेशन ही इज ओनली आंसर. सो उसके लिए मैं क्या करूँ?
बहुत आसान है इसका जवाब. तो शुरू कर दो.
अगर मैं ये शुरू करूँ तो उसको बंद करना पड़ेगा कि साइमल्टेनियसली चल सकता है?
वो तो आपके टाइम के ऊपर डिपेंड करता है. आप ऐसे करिए कि एक टाइम रख लीजिए उसके लिए और दूसरा टाइम रख लीजिए अपने मेडिटेशन सुबह करिए और बाकी चीजें बाद में कर सकते हैं.
लेकिन मुझे भी इस पे कुछ कहना है, अपना एक्सपीरियंस. Am I allowed?
Yeah, of course.
उनको साइड पे रख दीजिए, अलमारी में बंद करके. ठीक है, ये मेरा अनुभव कहता है. बंद कर दीजिए. जब आप जानते हैं कि उनसे कुछ नहीं होने वाला तो वक्त क्यों बर्बाद कर रहे हो? कुछ नहीं होने वाला.
नहीं, और मैं उसके ऊपर थोड़ा सा ये ऐड करूंगी, क्योंकि वो आदत बन चुकी है. इट्स अ पार्ट ऑफ हर लाइफ. It's very difficult to, stop it straight away. Start meditation. See how you benefit by it, what it gives you. And then you will automatically start to increase the time that you spend on it.
Thank you. I got your point.
परमात्मा ने तो नहीं कहा कभी भी ये कि मैं ऐसे मिलता हूँ सिर्फ.
आप किसी भी तरह से अपनी सफाई करिए, बस झाड़ू लेके अपनी सफाई करनी है.
Yeah, so Ritu, now over to you.
Yeah, इंदिरा जी ने
ऐसे बदल दे.
जी, इंदिरा जी ने बहुत सारी चीजों को छुआ. जैसे सुभाष जी ने बोला, मैं भी एक छोटे से शेर से इसको समअप करूंगी. उम्र भर गालिब यही भूल करता रहा, उम्र भर गालिब यही भूल करता रहा, धूल चेहरे पे थी और आईना साफ करता रहा. तो हम बहुत दिनों से पता तो था कि आईना साफ करना है और टूल्स भी पता थे, बट आज इंदिरा जी ने वो सारे टूल्स को समअप कर दिया. उन्होंने वो जैसे रेसिपी बुक होती है ना हलवा बनाने की, आज उन्होंने अपना शीशा साफ करने की, जिसमें आप दूसरों की परछाई देखते हो, उस शीशे को साफ करने की विधियां बताई हैं. और वो विधियां क्या है? माफ कर दो. बट सबसे ज्यादा मुश्किल माफ करना होता है अपने आप को. आप सबको माफ कर देते हो, आप अपने आप को माफ नहीं कर पाते हो. बट दूसरों को माफ करने के लिए सबसे पहले अपने आप को माफ करना है कि अगर दूसरे ने जान के नहीं किया तो आपने भी जान के नहीं किया, क्योंकि आपके भी संस्कार हैं, आपकी भी यात्रा है, कुछ आपके अंदर भी जुड़ा हुआ है जो ना चाहते हुए भी निकल गया. बट द मोमेंट यू बिकम अवेयर, जब आपको समझ आ जाता है कि मैंने जान के नहीं किया, उस दिन अपने आप को माफ कर दीजिए, और जिस दिन अपने आप को माफ कर देंगे आप सामने वाले को भी माफ कर देंगे। दूसरा जो उन्होंने पॉइंट दिया हमें वो था ग्रैटिट्यूड, शुक्राना करना है। ग्रैटिट्यूड हर उस चीज का करना है जो मुझे दी है और जो मेरे साथ जुड़ी हुई है। जो नहीं है वो नहीं है, बट जो है उसके लिए बहुत बहुत बार ग्रैटिट्यूड फील करना है, थैंक यू बोलना है। जैसे हमारे बैच में एक सविता है, उसको कुछ भी बोलो वो सब थैंक यू और बाद में थैंक यू से ही बंद करती है। और कभी मुझे बहुत गुस्सा भी आएगा तो मैं, क्योंकि वो ऐसे थैंक यू बोलती है कि आप लेट गो कर देते हो। तो feel gratitude that you have kids, छोटी छोटी चीजें, that you have a partner who support you, everything which is there for you, feel gratitude. The third thing she talked about is compassion, and Savita asked the question कि अब सबसे पहले अपने ऊपर compassionate होना है। I am also a human being, I can do mistakes, but वो mistake बार बार repeat नहीं होना है। That is what she wanted to convey, that be compassionate, be compassionate। और जब आप अपने लिए compassion रखोगे आप सामने वाले का भी compassion समझोगे कि वो भी जान के नहीं कर रहा है, उसके भी प्रवृत्ति है। And the fourth thing quality she talked about is generosity, दिल बड़ा करना है, आत्मा से लोगों को टच करना है। पैसा देना बहुत ही सांसारिक वस्तु हो सकती है दान के लिए, बट आपका सही दान वो है जब आप लोगों को टच करते हो, उनके लिए सोचते हो, अपने से ऊपर उठ के सोचते हो। और अंत में उन्होंने हमें यही बताया कि जब आप, और ये सब करने के बाद भी ये मत सोचिए कि आप महान हो गए हो, आप जब दूसरों की हेल्प कर रहे हो आप अपनी ही हेल्प कर रहे हो। जब हम साबुन से बर्तन मांजते हैं तो बर्तन तो साफ होता ही होता है, मेरे भी हाथ साफ होते हैं। I think it was a wonderful session from Indira ji. We got the keys for so many things. We were working, but you summed up everything. आपने सब चीजों को एक लाइन में, एक मोती में पिरो दिया। Thank you all. Thank you www. Thank you SMS
Okay.
India. Thanks. Please go.
बेटा अभी मैं वो जो मैंने कहा था कि there's, let's end this series with Swami Vivekananda's favorite prayer. The reason is because it encapsulates or actually embodies the true essence of weaving world's well-being. So just 4 lines. Let all beings be happy. Let all beings be peaceful. Let all beings be blissful. So do to the east, south, north, and west. Thank you all for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Hello, Didi.
हाँ जी।
Okay, thank you.
आपकी शक्ल दिख रही है।
आपकी ड्रेस भी बहुत अच्छी थी।